I'm delighted to welcome today Tracy Kimberg, who is a couples therapist. Welcome, Tracy.
Thank you for inviting me, Elaine. I'm delighted to be here.
Fabulous. So, we're going to be talking about the work that you do as a couples therapist, which involves seeing children and the whole family unit. But how did you get into being a couples therapist? It seems to be quite a popular phenomenon these days. I grew up never hearing of any such therapist, but it's quite common now with all the breakdown of family and new families emerging and so on. And also, what is a family these days, we might ask. There used to be
Exactly.
2 plus 2 children in my day, but I think things have gone way beyond that now. So tell us a bit about your background, Tracy, and how you came to do what you do.
Well, initially after school, I actually qualified as a nurse, and gradually, I felt myself being drawn more to the psychology side of the healing process of people, specifically noticing that for people to heal, they actually definitely need to work with their heads as well. And when I moved to the UK 10 years ago, I unfortunately my relationship broke down, and I wanted answers because I wanted to know why it broke down, why my dreams were destroyed, and I wanted to not make the same mistakes because I thought I'd made this huge mistake, and so ended up studying psychology and becoming a therapist myself. And yeah, here I am now in private practice, helping other people better their relationships and not end up feeling like they've made a mistake when it doesn't work out, you know?
So you said that you came to England 10 years ago. What brought you
Yes.
to England?
Um, well, I think safety. I come from South Africa, and it wasn't that great when we left. My ex-husband was attacked, and it was very traumatic for all of us. So we decided, no, we needed to move. I've got three daughters, which I wanted a better future for them. I wanted them to be safe, to be able to actually walk around without worrying. Um, so we decided to move here. My brother was already here, so it didn't seem so far. One of my very best friends was here already. So we just decided to do it. And you won't believe it, Elaine. We arrived each with, we sold everything on our lawn with an auction in South Africa. It was very traumatic to watch all my prized possessions being sold to people and people rummaging through your stuff. But we sold everything, and we each arrived in the UK with a suitcase. And yeah, and we made it. Here we are. We're all happy. My kids are happy. It all ended well.
And did the husband come with you?
Yes, he did come with me, but uh, he didn't really adjust very well. He was um, a different person. He was, well, you know, I think my ex-husband, he's a bit of a narcissistic personality. And so I don't know if you know how South African men are. A lot of South African men, not all of them, are quite controlling. In their culture, the woman is um, has to obey them. And me having three daughters, that didn't really work for us because I wanted my daughters to be strong, independent women. So that's how I wanted to bring them up, and that caused a lot of conflict. So he's still in the UK, but we're obviously not together anymore.
Okay, so that's obviously formed part of the couples therapy that you do from your own personal experience as well. So how do you help people? I mean, do you have like sessions? Is it talking therapy? Is it how do you work?
Well, I use various techniques. I'm also a qualified hypnotherapist. Um, so I see the client in front of me. I don't have a specific way of dealing with things. if the couple comes to me, someone that's not into hypnotherapy will not be susceptible to it, so it won't work. So I see what the couple needs. We identify the problem areas, the problem behaviors. They see me individually and as a couple, and the couple unit becomes my client. So there's no favoritism or anything like that. The couple unit becomes my client. Sometimes even the children are involved when the children are bringing in a dynamic of a problem into the relationship. And yes, I teach them basically what they're doing wrong. We figure out what they're doing wrong as individuals that is eroding the relationship, and then I give them the techniques that are basically the antidotes of that behavior, so that your partner ideally always feels seen, heard, loved, and understood. And the individual themselves needs to do a lot of self-awareness about what are they bringing into the relationship, maybe through triggers from their past, through expectations, really, expectations that are not being met, and are those expectations unrealistic?
I just put myself on mute because there was a helicopter or something flying over. So it's gone now, I think. So everything is individual, basically, isn't it? To
Yes.
each couple, and
Yes.
obviously each relationship is unique. I guess really, what we're saying is things start from within, from within the actual person. So
Definitely.
so do you do kind of self-awareness, management, that type of
Yes.
techniques?
I think, I have couples of all ages. I have couples here in their 70s, I have couples in their 20s. So there is a generational thing, a habitual behavior that sometimes doesn't help the situation anymore, because as you know yourself, the universe has changed so much since I'm in my 50s now. Since I was in my 20s, oh my goodness, it's the whole how people view relationships, the roles of different people in the relationship, that's all changed. So yeah, it's about looking at what the individual person, the male, female, or female, it doesn't really matter what the sex is of the person, what they what is their behavior and what is going on in their head in this relationship. Because if you look at it like this, when you are in a relationship, there's a lot of assumptions sometimes goes on. You assume your partner knows your needs. You assume your partner understands you because they love you, so they should understand you. But it doesn't work like that. And if you think of it this way, Elaine, we all are a blank map when we meet our partner. And I don't know if you can remember when you met your husband or your partner in the beginning, there was a lot of question asking, and what do you like? What don't you like? What do you do? What are your dreams? And as the relationship carries on, people stop doing that. And it's really very, very important that we continue this type of thing, because we as individuals are evolving and growing and changing, and what we like changes, what our dreams change, how we view our partner changes, what we need from our partner changes. And it's about continuing this journey together, really filling in those blanks on the map all the time.
I'm not a very good example here because I've had 3 husbands and been very happily single for about 18 years now. So I'm not the best person in relationships, although actually recently I was asked to help a couple with their relationship, and I've helped families with their relationship. And I use the disc behavioural profiling tool, which I used to use in business. Well, I still use it in business. But when I show people their behavioural profiles, they can see how their fundamental behaviour actually is different, and how each of the aspects of the behaviour can trigger one another. They can complement, but they can also trigger. And when they see the physical reports, there's the evidence. It's a big wake-up call for them. So
People like that analogy, don't they? I find that is definitely helpful to actually show them in paper. Wow, this is what's going on. I use a lot of John Gottman's techniques. I don't know if you've heard of John
no, I
Gottman.
haven't. No.
You should write that down and have a look. He's absolutely brilliant. I teach people their love language, their apology language, and then about what are the dangerous behaviors in a relationship. John Gottman, do you want me to tell you a bit about him?
Yes, please. Yes, I've just made a note of
It's
him.
absolutely, he's one of my guru people to go to. He's probably quite old now already, in his 70s. But when he was younger, he started a research project where he invited couples in over the weekend into this Big Brother type of scenario, his lab or a house where he had cameras all over the place. He would take their urine samples, their blood pressure, their blood samples, testing for hormonal release, testing for pulse, sweat. He was even measuring the sweat release, and he would tell them to resolve a problem that they had in their relationship, and he would observe them, taking notes about what the behaviors were. How were people really resolving conflict as couples? And basically, to cut a long story short, he chose these couples, and they've come over years and years. These couples have continued to come. Obviously, some have dropped out because they've separated or gotten divorced, and some are still happily married all together, and they still are continuing his research. So the bottom line with John Gottman is he identified 4 behaviors that will guarantee your relationship to break down. And what these behaviors are called the 4 horsemen, and they are extremely toxic to your relationship. So I'll tell you the 4 horsemen quickly. The 4 horsemen are defensiveness, when you become defensive, and criticism, which goes hand in hand with defensiveness, contempt, which is nasty behavior, basically. And then obviously the last one is stonewalling, when people shut down and don't want to resolve conflict, or feel that they cannot or don't know how to resolve conflict. So if you look, we are all human, Elaine, so we all do some of these behaviors some of the time. But when this is your go-to technique to resolve conflict, to be critical, to be defensive, to be contemptuous, or to be a stonewaller, your relationship's not going to work, because it's about the effect that that behavior has on your partner, number one. It's about the effect it has on you as a person, because it makes you feel inadequate and have a lot of guilt and shame afterwards. And then, of course, you are your relationship starts breaking apart. But the great thing about John Gottman is he had the couples that were a great success. So he took the behaviors that those people were doing, and he wrote a huge article about that. Lovely books. I would recommend all of you go and get a book of John Gottman. It's such a helpful approach to relationship success. So he's got the techniques that the successful people do, and so you do those instead. So that's fantastic. For
Brilliant.
instance,
And the spelling of his name, can you just spell his surname?
it's John, John, and Gottman is Gottman.
Right, cool. That's what I've written. Good, excellent. Thank you. So the 4 horsemen. Wonderful. Okay. Thank you for that explanation. That's really helpful. What impact do second marriages, second relationships have on the children? Because I understand you also see children in your therapy room.
It's a huge impact. It's a huge impact. I think separation in itself today is quite a big problem when it comes to children. children have, look, it's common. Children generally have no friends, or have a lot of friends that are parents are separated or divorced. But when it comes to the relationship, when a parent separate, right, it's vital that the parents try their best to put their egos separate from the situation, and stay reasonably um, um, in a good space for the sake of the kids. Then the kids can process this, and they can feel that they can go to both parents and that they still kind of have a kind of a unit. But the big problems come when the parents don't get on afterwards, which is probably, let's be honest, 80% of the case. Parents don't get on after the divorce, and the kids have conflicting interests, and dealing with a lot of guilt and resentment toward them, guilt toward themselves, obviously, and resentment toward the parents, because the parents often use the kids as tools to manipulate and get what they want, or punish the other parent. Some parents use the kids as a punishment tool, and the children are not stupid. They see this behavior, and because on the one side they love their parents, both parents, but they don't like the parents' behavior, or they don't like the parents. I'll tell you, so many children come to me and they say, I love my mom, but I hate her. I love my mom, but I can't stand her. And the same with the father. And that is very conflicting, because, as you know, teenagers have the cognitive development of their brains are not quite there yet. They function from a very emotional space, where everything to them is triggered emotionally. So it's all these emotions going on in their head, and they can't, with common sense, sit down and figure out, oh yes, oh, maybe my mom is reacting because of her pain or anything like. No, they can't do that. It's all emotion, and so an emotion is very high on the wavelength of affect scale, isn't it? Especially emotions like guilt and shame, frustration, anxiety, hurt, all those things. It does affect you as a person yourself. And yeah, that's the one side of thing. And then the other side of the problem is that a lot of children feel that it's their fault that their parents got divorced, because maybe they think, oh, maybe if I was more good, or maybe if I made my parents work it out, maybe if I said to my parents, if you get divorced, I'll kill myself, that they would have stayed together. So I don't know if in your business you get a lot to do with children, but things like self-harming, all that type of behavior starts coming forward, because it's this coping mechanism for all these emotions that they cannot express. And then, of course, the next step to the new relationship dynamic, family dynamic problem is that, yes, you are out of a relationship, maybe you've got a lot of unresolved issues from your previous relationship, you go in a new relationship, this person, let's say the guy, has completely different ideas about bringing up kids. They come into your house, and it's very hard when an adult feels responsible and starts caring for a child to withhold that parental behavior of setting boundaries, setting rules and things. It's our natural behavior to want to protect, isn't it?
Yes, yeah.
But unfortunately, the children feel, well, you're not my dad. And that causes problems not only for the step parent and the child, but between the couple as well, because mothers specifically are very defensive toward their kids. And you can feel that, what's those hackles? Is that the word?
Yeah, hackles.
Hackles
Yeah.
come up on your back when anybody says anything bad about your child, Look, I think a lot of parents are very open to their children's faults and bad behaviors when they are teenagers, but I mean, they're teenagers. But in your relationship, it creates a lot of conflict. So what I try and do is I try and bring the family together individually to see how everybody's seeing the situation. What are the behaviors, once again, that everybody's doing that's causing conflict, and changing that whole dynamic to a very comfortable boundary setting where everybody feels, I'm being heard here. I'm also important, even if I'm 16 or 12 or whatever, I am heard. And sometimes parents need to be put into check, because a lot of adults have the idea that, well, because I'm the grown up, you've got to listen. It doesn't work like that. It just creates a rebellious child. So, yeah.
What about retirement? You mentioned earlier on that you have couples in their 20s and some in their 70s. I'd heard that when people retire, they're then, during their life they've been working, say, or, whatever they've been doing, own businesses or something, and then they retire and they're with each other 24/7, and it's a bit too much. And I'd heard that the divorce rate for older people actually is higher than the younger people. Is that true?
It is, and a lot of it has got to do with because how the world has changed. So the life for the elderly or more mature, let's call them more mature people, because I'm 20 years away from 70, and I don't want to be called old when I'm 70. The more mature people are also are discovering a new world, and when people retire, it's their purpose that gets taken away from them, and it's sometimes really hard to be stuck in a relationship with someone that you don't really know anymore. They've been going off to work, and now all of a sudden you 24/7 in each other's companies. And this is why the John Gottman techniques are so absolutely brilliant, is because you then have to basically go back, because it's a new relationship, if you think of it like a new relationship phase. All the phases that we go through in life is almost like a new door that opens in your relationship. First, okay, you meet, you're all lovey-dovey, all in love, and the passion is running at full steam ahead. Can't keep your hands off each other, having sex every single night. But as you carry on and you have kids, that changes, doesn't it? Sex becomes less, the whole dynamic in the relationship comes less. And it's the same with retirement. When retirement hits, you have to decide, where are you as a person, as individuals? What do you need from your partner to feel loved and heard? And the space thing is so important, to allow each other to have that individual time apart from each other, where you have your own space with your own friend, where you can just get the hell away from each other for 5 minutes, so that you don't end up wanting to get divorced, because at 70 you don't want to really be on your own. If that's your choice, that's great. Like with you, I mean, you're not in your 70s, but you're very happy on your own. But I'm sure you don't sit at home knitting.
No, it's far too busy. Now I'm 65 now. I can't believe it. I'm only 5 years away from 70, but I feel my life is just starting.
Exactly. You're very, very busy. I mean, it's about being busy. I think a lot of people, when they go into retirement, it's like menopause and all those different phases. You see, oh my God, I'm retired. This is the end of me. I'm at God's or the heavens window, God's waiting room type of thing, like they call it. But it's not the case. I mean, I have the eldest client, Elaine, that I've had here was 87.
Wow.
And she was with it, I'm telling you. She was single. She'd obviously lost her husband, and she had a boyfriend. She was just living her life, and there's nothing wrong with that. You don't have to, when you're retired, see your life as over. It's about still having that excitement. One of the most important things in a relationship, I teach my clients a relationship house, which is what makes a house very firm. It's almost like the Three Little Pigs, where the one was a stick house and the one was a brick house. So how do you build a solid house for your relationship? And the top one of the two last bricks in or roof at the roof section, it is creating shared meaning and memory making. And you need to keep on doing that, even if you have hit retirement, you know. I
Very,
want to
very,
prove, yeah.
very good advice. So, if couples are listening to this, or probably couples won't be listening, individual people will be listening, I would imagine. What advice would you be giving if the relationship is a bit rocky? Obviously, come and see you. Do you do online
I do online
therapy?
sessions. I could do quite a few online sessions. I do worldwide online sessions. But my advice to somebody that is listening to this, if you are listening to this now and you feel your relationship is in trouble, then it is in trouble. Trust your instincts and don't think, just ignore it. Don't do the stonewalling. Don't pretend it's not happening. Don't ignore those problems, because if you do, it's just going to erode at the relationship, which is what you don't want. And yes, there is a stigma, or used to be, I don't think it is so much anymore, attached to coming for couples therapy, but it's actually great. It's actually fun. And all my clients here that at the end say they wish they would have, they came years ago, because they know that the relationship is now different. You see each other differently because you see yourself. You see yourself, and you know, I always say that, you know, you look at your partner as if they're a mirror. You see your partner, and when they're happy, you think, oh, I'm doing a good job. My partner's happy, so I'm doing a good job. They love me because they're happy. But actually, you should be looking in the mirror and saying, are you happy? Are you um are you the one doing a good job for you in this relationship? Um, but yeah, don't ignore those feelings. It's not it doesn't mean that you're failing. It doesn't mean that you're a failure if you feel that your relationship is failing, because we hide that from people. We have this different persona that we show toward the public, friends, family. When you go out, you all look happy, and then when you get home and you walk in the house, though, that deep feeling comes and you feel, oh, this relationship is really not working for me. I'm unhappy. Listen to yourself and find the help you deserve to be happy. You know?
Excellent. I say that to my clients all the time. Follow your intuition, because your
Yes.
intuition and your body know what it likes, what it doesn't. So how do people get hold of you, Tracy?
People can get hold of me on, they can go onto my website, which is tracykimberg.com. They can find me on Facebook, which is obviously Tracy Kimberg, relationship expert, or they can just give me a ring, and I will give you my phone number if you like,
Yes.
Elaine, and you can just add it in there. They can just call me directly.
Okay. Can you spell your name so that people can find you?
Okay, my name is Tracy, and Kimberg, Kimberg.
Fabulous. Marvellous. Thank you very much, Tracy. It's been a pleasure speaking with you.
Thank you. It's been lovely. I've really enjoyed it.